Hello and welcome to NL Interviews. Today we have with us Professor Roop Rekha Verma, the former acting Vice Chancellor of Lucknow University. Besides being a professor of philosophy, she is also a social activist and has spent decades fighting gender, religious and caste inequalities. Earlier this week, she agreed to stand as surety for Kerala journalist Siddique Kappan, who was granted bail by the Supreme Court on September 9th in the Unlawful Activities Prevention Act case. Kappan was arrested 2 years ago when he was en route Hathras to report on the rape case of a minor Dalit girl. It was a struggle for his lawyers to find residents of Uttar Pradesh who could stand as his surety. Professor Roop Rekha Verma speaks to Newslaundry today about what made her take this step, the changing consequences of dissent, and her life journey. Welcome to Newslaundry, Professor. Could you tell us, Professor, what prompted you to stand for surety for Kappan?
Actually, when I came to know that they have difficulty finding a surety, then I thought that the whole story of Kappan, which I had been reading in media, had aroused a sort of suspicion in my mind that, like many other activists and journalists, maybe the allegations leveled against him regarding money laundering or terrorist connections may not be exactly true, because he was arrested at the time of doing his journalistic duty. So that aroused a sort of a doubt in my mind whether he really deserved all those allegations and the resultant harassment. And then I argued in my mind that if I stand as surety, then at most he will get bail and he'll be out of jail at least in one case, provided in the other case also he gets bail. There is another case going on in UP lodged by ED, Enforcement Directorate. So my argument was that, number one, my taking bail does not guarantee his freedom from jail, because he has to try his luck in the other case, ED filed case also. And even if he gets bail in both the cases, then he will have to fight out all the cases, because bail means only that he will be out of jail, but the cases will go on. And he will have to struggle a lot all the way from Kerala coming to UP to fight his case. So in a way, I am not disturbing the whole design. I am giving him only a small privilege. I mean, privilege is a big word. I think a small help to come out, and then law will take its own course. So I was convinced that I am not disturbing the whole thing. Only a small help was being given. And in today's dark times, the times which have a lot of restrictions on opening up mouth, on freedom of citizens, this much help is what every citizen has a claim of. And if a person like me, who has been talking about human rights and all the life, working for it, it would be a shame if I don't stand. I would not have been able to face myself if I did not extend this very small help to him.
Why do you think people were hesitating to stand for him?
Well, if you look at the history and the contemporary scenario also, in all the ages, in all the countries, in all the societies, those who think of humanity, those who open mouth, have always been very few. Had it not been the case, Socrates would not have been given poison for speaking out truth. Bruno would not have been burnt down on a street for going against the biblical theory about earth and the sun. We know that history. So always there have been a very few people, because others have many more things to look after, their children, their families, their career, and they think that some other people who are active on this front will speak out. Number two, the present scenario is much more difficult for a willing person to speak out. For last 8 years or so, we have seen what has been happening to those who try to stand for human rights, who try to tell the government that this is what they have done is not really right. If they speak for the Dalits, the poor, the tribals, they have been put into jail. So there is an atmosphere of fear. I understand that.
And how did you first hear about his case? And did you approach the lawyers then, or did they reach out to you?
Yes, that's good question, because people have been, the media has been telling in my context that there was no one willing and she stood out. So that is a bit, extra credit to me. But the fact is that it was never made public that they are searching for two sureties. I never knew that they needed, otherwise I would have offered my services much earlier. For 10 days, they were in search. A Keralite friend of mine gave me this message that they want two sureties and wondered whether I could arrange two persons from Lucknow. So I told her that I am ready, one for myself, and the other I'll try to find out. Then she sent me the lawyer's phone number. I talked to him, offered my services, and then he told me that the second one also has been found.
Okay. And what has the response around you been like? Have you received any sort of criticism or any sort of trolling in this context?
Yeah, it has been a mixed bag. I see that a large number has appreciated, but a few have called me traitor against Hindus, and they have given a list of the so-called traitors in history and put me in that line. I'm quite happy with that, because I would again like to be that type of traitor. I don't believe in being any religious organization's devotee. I don't want to tag my loyalty to any narrow-minded group, whether based on religion or based on caste or creed or religion or dress or language. So I love my country. I care more for my country than for Namibia or USA or England. I care for my country much more. I love my country much more.
Who are these people who have been calling you a traitor? Are they people from a particular political
I
group,
don't
or
remember
is
the
it
name.
just...
I have got in my WhatsApp, messages thing, which I have saved for enjoying it later on also. So that original tweet by Binu Karunakaran, it has some appreciative, retweets, remarks, and there are some bad ones. Likewise, a journalist of Times of India, based in Lucknow, had made a story about me, and then he had tweeted the same thing also. And he sent me that piece, and I scrolled and saw the comments there. It is quite good number of negative comments, but I'm quite happy with that. But that is a certificate for me. I treat it as a certificate for me that in dark times, these are the people whom I hurt, and I am proud to hurt them.
Could you tell us a little about your early years, where you were born, where you grew up, and what brought you to Lucknow?
My father was a medical doctor in government service before independence and then after independence. So he was quite frequently in transfers. So I am told that I was born in the Etawah city of UP. I am a UPian, but I have never seen Etawah. My early education was in Manpuri.
Okay.
In 1959, I came to Lucknow for higher education. got education, got a job here immediately after MA in Lucknow University. I got job immediately after MA, and so I'm more of a native of Lucknow now. But my childhood memories, which are the very strong ones, are from Manpuri.
And
Okay.
how did you get into teaching, and why philosophy in particular?
Oh, that has a story. In fact, in till high school, I was in science line, science. What do they say? Stream, science stream. And the government girls college, which where I was getting my education, there weren't very many colleges in Manfred. There was another private one. I was in this government one. In the intermediate section of that school, they did not have science teaching. So, and I was just 14 at that time when I passed my high school, and that was the time backward time girls were not sent out for education. Even if they became adults, they were not sent out. So I had to, change my line, and I was very angry about that. So I had to change the stream from science to arts. And then when I came for BA here in Lucknow, then I didn't have much idea about the benefits and negatives of different subjects. I had very starry idea, very unrealistic starry idea, romantic idea of philosophy. I thought that philosophy is some very much higher, respectable subject. So it was out of immature romanticism that I chose philosophy. And in family, no one objected to that. Then I started liking it. I don't regret having, chosen that subject.
And you've spent a great part of your life fighting social inequalities. How did you get into that path?
Since childhood, I had seen a lot of poverty around. We were ordinary middle class family, but never had any difficulty in good food and ordinary clothes. And that was the time when the living style was very modest. There were no other needs, excepting clothes and food and education. That's all. But around us, I had seen very bad kind of poverty and inequalities, and also violence in some families, uh, children being beaten, women being beaten, and a lot many unequal things which led to violence. So that was there in my childhood memories. As I grew, they came back. I reflected on that. I was constantly reading books, and my fortune was that most of the books which I chose to read turned out to be very good. They opened my consciousness, they matured my ideas, and then I started, understanding more the dynamics of social inequalities. I got into that on ground also. So completed all my duties of university, and before and after that, I used to, do a small scale work, and then it went on increasing with time.
Okay. A couple of months ago, there was a video that was circulated on the internet widely, which had you distributing pamphlets in Lucknow on a street at a signal. Could you tell us about that? What was in the pamphlets and what made you do this?
Number one, immediately I should clarify that I do feel that I do feel even in couples case that a very small help is being treated as a big one. I don't know. I mean, this shows perhaps the times are so bad that a very modest help is being lauded so in a big way. It reflects on bad times. But about this pamphlet distribution, I must hastily clarify that I got much undue credit for that. The event was collectively organized by some citizens of Lucknow. That was to celebrate the 1857 revolution against British Army, in which the Lucknowites defeated British Army for the first time in India. We wanted to celebrate that on that day, salute it, and then bring out an appeal, distribute an appeal to tell the public that whenever we have fought and stood unitedly, we have won and the country has benefited. Because this fight against British Army in Lucknow, it was led by Ahmad Ali Shah, who used to write against British regime with the pseudonames. One of them, the names was Danka Shah. And British Army was trying to arrest him, but he was not. I mean, he would give them a slip always. So this brave man led that struggle, and his next man was a Hindu, Ghamandi Shah. Sorry, Ghamandi Singh. So, and then the public which joined them against British Army, that public had almost equal number of Muslims, Hindus, and some other religions. So that is a fine example of how when the public stands up unitedly, irrespective of religion, caste, and gender, then we progress.
I believe you have also in the past distributed pamphlets appealing for religious harmony.
My life is spent in that. But you see, technology, I mean, since late 1980s, I have done this job. But it never made a news. I have taken bail earlier also, never made a news. But now I think the technology has made it possible to, number one, notice even small acts, and number two, spread it fast. So spreading it, I mean, if you have forwarded something to me, I will forward it to 100 with one click. And then again, it will go on multiplying. So the technology has made it possible. As far as it helps spreading hate, I'm very sorry for it. But as far as it spreads good messages, I'm very happy with it.
And this way of, through pamphlets, appealing to people for religious harmony, do you think it makes a difference?
I believe that if we also have time to talk to people besides handing out the pamphlet, that would be more effective. Because I told my group also that we have distributed, there was absolutely, the people were passers-by. They didn't have time to stop and discuss with me. Some majority just pocketed it. They must have read it after reaching home. I don't know their reaction. Only 3 or 4, in my case, only 3 or 4 stopped to ask me what it is. I briefed it, and then they had some discussion. Some were, one was negative, the other 4 or 5 were positive.
And I think in the past you have also been detained during protests. There has been a matter of house arrest also. Could you tell us about those incidents briefly?
We have been detained several times in the last few years, and it was the comparatively more alarming phenomenon in our experience, because earlier in the present regime only this has happened. Otherwise, at most we were surrounded. We were allowed to make a speech and then come out. The police surrounded us to see if any negative thing doesn't happen, some violence doesn't take place. But for the first time since the new regime has come, for the last last 6, 7 years, we are not allowed to speak out. We are not allowed to distribute pamphlets. At that place where I distributed and the video went viral, there was no police thana nearby, so we could. And then it was in the name of 1857, the Kranti, revolution. So even police would not have had any objection to that.
Right.
But if we go with a problematic, gender equality, someone has been raped, someone has been abducted, somebody's house has been bulldozed, somebody's, has been arrested just because he spoke out about the problem, then also About Stan Swami's death, we sat, and Bilkis Bano's, those, what should I say, the culprits. They were proven culprits in the court. And when those culprits were released, we had a dharna, but at an exclusive place, not in the eyes of the public, because that is not allowed in our this present government's time. If we try to do that where public is there, then we are detained. Always, each time we have been detained, and a few times I have been house arrested also, so that I'm not able to go out. For the first time in this regime, I have faced pulling and pushing by male police when we tried to protest. It never happened with me. I'm nearing 80, I'm 79 plus. I have been active since my late 20s, age of late 20s. And this sort of male police pushing and using bad words. You created everything, you are a trouble creator. Like this on my face, they told me several times that you are creating all the trouble in the city. This is what an ordinary sub-inspector had the cheeks to tell me in front of many. This has happened with me several times. I have been insulted by them many times. But this is my first experience in this regime. Before that, yes, we were sometimes controlled, we were sometimes denied permission, yet we took out, they didn't do anything. Even despite their refusal to take out position, we did take out, and government remained silent.
The consequences for dissent are changing, correct?
Yeah, dissent is not tolerated in this regime. It is a crime. And if you commit it in a very serious way, maybe still I'm not counted as a serious challenger, and I'm happy with that, because no one wants to go at this age. I mean, going to jail. If they do, I'll go. Otherwise, I'm not very keen to go to jail. But I have bones problem. I can't use toilet in the ordinary toilet and all that. So one would like to avoid. But I have seen now how many people of our country, the best people of our country, who were speaking for poor people, who were speaking for tribals, who were speaking for gender equality, they were put in jail. Now they are 6-7 years they are in jail, and they are in jail without trial. Not only that, they have been put into jail just for opening out for human rights. They are not being given an opportunity to clarify.
Right. In the case of Siddique Kappan, do you think if this was in another state, it would not have been such a struggle for him to find surety?
I don't know, but maybe Rajasthan or maybe now I can think of Bihar or Chhattisgarh. I mean, the opposite. I mean, this matters which government. I can think of Kerala, I can think of Rajasthan, etc. But the fear is so widespread that I can't be sure of any state now. I am closely watching the proceedings of, in different cases, proceedings of Bengal High Court. Bengal High Court is continuously giving anti-Mamata judgments. So it may depend on the political biases, I'm sorry to say this, which is a crime maybe, but I'm finding this sort of limitations of judges also now. I don't know what.
And over the past 2 years, were you also following Siddique Kappan's case, the updates?
Continuously, I mean, I have never, even now I have not met, I have not seen ever. That guy I have never met, I have never seen actually. I have seen only his photographs in media. I don't know him at all. But since I was reading about him, as I was reading about Naulakha, Sudha Bharadwaj, Varnan Gonsalves, Barbar Rao. So in the same way I read about it.
Right. And what did you put up as your surety for Kappan?
My car, they wanted 1 lakh worth surety. but I thought the car was the easiest for me to produce papers to produce. The purchasing the purchasing worth is 5,80,000.
Okay.
And it is 4 years, about 4 years old, some depreciation. Maybe it is now 5 lakhs worth.
And also wanted to ask you in context of protests, how did you deal with student protests at your time at the university?
But the first thing will be, even if it is 1 o'clock, 2 o'clock at night, I would immediately go there, talk to them. Many times I didn't succeed, admit, but I would always go. And it did have some effect. If any student has fallen sick, I would personally go to the hospital to see that he or she is being treated well. And also, if I'm in a seminar or something, because I was doing dual duties I was only acting vice chancellor,
Right.
a caretaker vice chancellor. So I had to do my teacher's duties also in my department. And so there were seminars, workshops related to that. So if I get a phone call from my PA that certain delegation of the students has come to meet you, if some other VIP has come, I would ask him to come later on. But if students had come, I would immediately leave the seminar and come. And even my staunch opposite groups of students told me that we harassed you very much, but then you always came and we wonder how you could manage that. So I treat it as a treasure for myself that if those people who kept on bothering me and they belonged to a party which didn't like me, but even they gave me this sort of certificate that you cared for us.
Are you afraid at all of the possible consequences of the move you've made by standing
I
as
am
surety?
concerned, certainly concerned, because if they come and search my house, I mean, a very tidy person. I keep my table, my home, my almirahs in a very tidy. That and this tidiness has touched the boundaries of mania. I mean, a sort of disease. So what I'm afraid of is that if they come to my house and search my almirahs and this, I'm sure they will not find anything wrong, but then they will disturb everything. They will, with their dirty hands, they will touch everything. I'm lot of, it is very funny, I know, but I see bad dreams about this. And second, if I am arrested, then what will I do when I need a toilet? These two worries. I'm not afraid of being arrested. I'm not being afraid of any charges. I'll face as many other people are facing. But then it is a catastrophe. No one wants it. Frankly speaking, no one wants it. And third is that my extended family members, my niece, nephew, etc., some of them don't agree with me ideologically, I know, but then a few agree, and a few don't agree or disagree. They are just concerned about me. They keep on, burdening me with those cautions that every day, every second day, they will ring up and ask me not to indulge in such things and be cautious and all that. That is a sort of, daily. It's a bit troublesome.
In context of this entire conversation we've had, where times are changing, what gives you hope and how do you still continue the fight despite all the obstacles?
To whisper in your ears confidentially, I'm hopeless. I don't have any hopes. Because things have gone so bad. Every democratic public institution has been perverted. Fear is so much that even those who used to be brave, they don't want to speak on these issues anymore. So now we are very few. So therefore, there is no hope. But the problem is that you have not ceased to live. This is a dilemma for anyone who feels for the country. And as long as you are living and your body and mind are working minimally, you have to face yourself. Reply to, you are answerable to yourself. And I'm not, I don't want to sound too idealistic, but I really, honestly, I'm saying that I won't be able to face that would be end of my life. Once I am ashamed before my own eyes. Or that keeps me going and indulging in protest. Otherwise, I think I should have been quiet. It is just, I have to face myself.
Thank you so much.
The subscription model is something that keeps Newslaundry afloat, but we need hundreds of thousands of people to completely transform the news ecosystem. So you pay for news, so it serves you. So click on the link with this video, subscribe to Newslaundry and pay to keep news free, और गर्व से कहो मेरे खर्च पर आज़ाद है खबरें.